still hearing what sounds like, a physical altercation going on. No one would come to the door, and I heard the officers, while I was on the phone, I heard them kick the door in. After officers get there, the story's cut off for us.
Are you there with him by yourself? Listen to me. I need your help. Is he the only one in the house?
My name is Jessica Parker. I am a dispatcher. I've been with North Richland Hills for 5 years. So several years ago, I took what we classify as a 911 hang-up call. So I had an open phone line with a female screaming. There was a lot of what you could tell was probably a physical altercation going on, a lot of banging, a lot of screaming, a lot of saying, "Don't hit me," that sort of thing. I stayed on the open line and continued to hear what sounded like a pretty horrible assault going on, with the female just screaming, very upset, obviously. So when officers got there, they were hearing screaming from the outside, and I was telling them on the phone, I'm still hearing screaming, I'm still hearing what sounds like, a physical altercation going on. No one would come to the door, and I heard the officers, while I was on the phone, I heard them kick the door in and get the female and tell the male, get down on the ground, show us your hands. I heard all that over the phone, so that was really impactful for me. We don't usually hear, after officers get there, the story's cut off for us. It made me, and still makes me, a lot more aware of those open lines. So we get open 911 calls all the time, and I would say 95% of the time it's a phone's in somebody's pocket. It's not something that somebody's consciously doing, but there's that small percentage that are people that are trying to get help, and they can't say, I need help, I'm at this address, because they could be alerting somebody to the fact that they're calling police. So as a dispatcher, we are the first person to respond to a call for help, but we hardly ever get an outcome. We never see what these officers are seeing. We a lot of times don't get closure on events that are very impactful for us. Unless we specifically go to the officer and say, "Hey, can you tell me what happened? Is everything okay there?" So a lot of times hearing what's going on, or hearing people's cries for help and not knowing the resolution, and especially not knowing what happened after that night, is sometimes hard. It's hard to not really understand that what you're doing is making a difference, because you don't see that difference firsthand. The officers, they're able to go out and they're able to put handcuffs on somebody, they're able to put somebody in jail, they're able to get a physical resolution to this call. But for a dispatcher, as soon as you hit that button to hang up the line, that's the end of the story for us. So you can create a million scenarios in your head of what happened. And when officers are out there and they're asking for backup, you're creating all these scenarios in your head of, well, is this person running from them? Is this person assaulting them? Is this person being assaulted by somebody else? We have no idea. We have to work with what we hear on the phone and what we hear on the radio and try to piece it together as much as we can. But a lot of times it's really just final for us after those calls. So after that call, I really understood more from a victim standpoint. I heard how just agonized she was and how desperate she was. That somehow she was able to get to a phone and dial 911 and just set it down or throw it or whatever she did that left the phone line open to where I could hear how desperate she was for somebody to help her. And having never gone through anything like that in my life, before that call, it's kind of like, I don't really understand. Is it that bad? You can't really it's hard to put yourself in someone's shoes when you haven't been through that. And just hearing how desperate she was for help really made me understand the fear that these women, men, children go through when they're experiencing things like that in their life. It gave me a better appreciation for, how traumatic that can be. If there's somebody screaming in the background, "I'm going to go get my gun," The officers aren't going to know that information unless we are alert enough to hear that, to pay attention to background noise, and to let them know that, hey, this guy's threatening to get a gun. So it might not be the caller that's specifically telling us stuff, but other information that we pick up while we're talking to them. She called us for help, but she wasn't saying, hey, I need your help, come here. So I think with that type of call, I was literally giving her a voice, asking for help on her behalf.